What's up everyone, I'm Gooshy, and in this video we're going to be going over the ultimate tank samurai build. With this build, we're going to be building up resolve super quick and tanking damage so you can play as aggressively as possible. I've tried other builds like the explosive blade, blessed strikes build, but I found that this is by far way easier to hold a point on survival. So in this video we're going to be going over the gear that I'm using, the techniques, and the general playstyle. As a side note for all of you guys who have followed my channel for Ghost of Tsushima content, voting for Game of the Year is happening right now. And if you guys have been loving this game as much as I do, go ahead and go to the Game Awards website, which I'll link down below in the description, and vote. The whole process will take under a minute. All you have to do is connect your Twitter, Facebook, or Google account, and then vote for Ghost of Tsushima. There's also other categories that Ghost of Tsushima got nominated for, so scroll down, and if you think that Ghost of Tsushima did a good job in that category, go ahead and vote. And if you really want Ghost of Tsushima to win, you can also sign in to your other accounts and vote multiple times. And every vote matters, so take that 1 minute out of your day to represent the game that we all love. So with that, let's get started. To gain resolve as fast as possible, we'll be using Injured Resolve Gain. If you haven't watched my resolve video, where I compare all the resolve gain perks, Injured Resolve Gain is the best by far, because when you max it out at 50%, you'll be getting a half of a bar of resolve each time you get hit. Because we will be taking damage, we'll also be speccing into damage reduction. This will help with our survivability so that we don't have to heal as much. So both on our charm and our healing gourd, having damage reduction and injured resolve is a must. For my charm, I do have last breath, which will heal me if I take fatal damage. This will give you that extra layer of protection just in case you're not paying attention to your health and just so happens you drop down to 0. This is on a 5-minute cooldown, but if you're playing survival, which usually takes around an hour, this will be active most of the time. The perk on my charm that I'm currently using is Super Armor, and I found this is the best option to gain resolve as fast as possible, because you'll be gaining resolve while you're attacking the enemy and while you're getting hit. On my healing gourd, I'm using Strong Brew just to get that extra healing. Another variation to these perks, which I found works decently well, is switching up the perks, having Last Breath use Combat Regeneration just for more healing, and the healing gourd having Sudden Resolve, which will fill your first bar of resolve once using the healing gourd. And the reason why I didn't really like this is because 1, you can't use the healing gourd if you're already at full health, and 2, it only procs up to your first bar of resolve. Ideally, you'd be using the healing gourd right after you use your ultimate to immediately get that first bar of resolve. However, I found that after using my ultimate, I always took some kind of damage, which procced Injured Resolve Gain, which already gave me a half a bar of resolve. So I think the first variation works a little bit better as it focuses on healing at the right times. For a ghost weapon, we'll be using Sticky Bomb for 2 reasons. With a max blast radius, you'll be hitting as many enemies as possible to gain more resolve. Second, I found that without the samurai's ultimate, it's slightly hard to do big bursts of damage, especially when you really need to take out an enemy like one of the Tengus. For our range weapon, we'll be using the half bow, which honestly I never use in this build. And finally, I'll be using Water Katana with Way of the Flame, just to help out with your neutral game a little bit more. On my Water Katana, I also have ultimate damage to get more kills as we use our ultimate, and melee resolve gain just to get as much resolve gain as possible. Next, we'll go over the techniques that I'm using. And the techniques are pretty important, as healing is a very important part of this build. So for our class ability, we'll be taking Spirit Pull, and for our first perk, we'll be taking Samurai Unleashed to decrease Spirit Pull's cooldown by 15%. With this, we'll be able to use it as many times as possible. The second perk isn't as important, but I chose Critical Defense just to survive a little bit longer just in case I'm at low health. Finally, for perk 3, we'll be taking Hachiman's Frenzy. Since we'll be using our ult as many times as possible, we want to increase our damage by adding an extra 2 strikes. Okay, onto the general playstyle that you'll be using while playing this build. So with this build, you really want to play around your Spirit Pull cooldown. This will determine if you're going to play super aggressive, ignoring all enemy attacks so you can take the hit and melee enemies at the same time, or if you play a little bit defensively to make sure that you don't get hit and to preserve your health. So if you do have your Spirit Pull ready, even if you're at full health, I like to pop it and just go ham on an enemy. Specifically, you want to target enemies that you know you'll get hits in, so Oni Brutes that won't block your attack, or Spear Oni. This ensures that you will be gaining resolve from your melee attacks, and then as you take damage from other enemies, you'll be gaining even more resolve from the Injured Resolve Gain property. And this is what makes Super Armor really important. Most enemy attacks won't interrupt your melee attacks, so you'll be gaining resolve in 2 ways at the same time. It's worth noting that there are some attacks that will still knock you down. For example, the Oni Brute's AoE attack and the Spirit Oni's charge attack. The preferable way to take damage are actually arrows because they do the least amount of damage and usually come within a volley of 5, which will immediately give you 2.5 bars of resolve. Keep in mind that Spirit Pull lasts around 10 seconds, so once that ends, switch to a more defensive playstyle to not get hit and again preserve your health. By this time you should have your ultimate already, so once you have it, since you don't have extra bars of resolve to bank more for the next one, just use it right away. From here, since your Spirit Pull is on cooldown, you want to gain resolve in other ways, so we have our Sticky Bomb to hit multiple enemies at once, and Way of the Flame to get just a little bit more resolve. With the Sticky and Way of the Flame, along with purposely taking damage, you should have your ultimate before Spirit Pull is up again. If you do purposely take a little bit more damage than expected, you do have the Healing Gourd to keep your health up. Spirit Pull is on a really low cooldown of 30 seconds, so always keep an eye on that cooldown so that you can repeat the process and gain your ult again. If your health does get too low and Spirit Pull or the Healing Gourd isn't ready, then I recommend playing at range and using your bow to build resolve. Try to go for those headshots as it will give you more resolve. As a thing to note is that if you are playing with a Ronin, which most likely you will be, always keep in mind when they pop their ult. If they are using Breath of Izanami, it'll give you 8 seconds of healing, which is basically equivalent to using Spirit Pull. So again, use that time to play super aggressively to get hits on enemies and take damage to build your ult. Another option for healing is to go to the buy station and getting Refill Ghost's health. You should always be buying this option, as again, it's another free damage phase to build up resolve as fast as possible. And yeah, that's about it. I'm sure most of you guys have builds super similar to this, so if you have a variation that you think works better than this, let me know in the comment section down below. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Hope to catch you in the next one, and GG.